weekend racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show. We're back at Del Mar for another weekend. Mr. Samich, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting back at Del Mar here this weekend. We got some pretty good racing. I'm excited about this sequence. I know you and I are going to do a little headbutting here, and I've got a strong opinion in a race, which you're going to try and shit all over me. So I'm looking forward to that later too. And yeah, I'm in a good mood. I'm just kind of in a positive mood today, which is nice during this these pandemic days.
Oh, I'm really sorry that I'm going to bring you down when we get to the second leg of this race. Then, man, it's I almost feel bad for you, but hey, it's your picks, it's your opinion. So whatever you want to do with it. We're already going to get to this. I'm as excited because when I saw your picks, I was like, we haven't had a good knockdown drag out in a little bit here, and those are always the ones that we get done with the show. And when we're just like talking afterwards privately, we're like, this was amazing. We're like, nothing energizes me more than the two of us like on some horses right now in this show. Really,
it's pretty crazy when you have an 8-horse field. We each went 3 deep. And we both can't hit the pick 4. We'll just put it that way. We'll just start with that little piece, right? We're going to use 6 of the 8 horses, and we're not going to use a single overlapping horse in the entire race. So yeah, and I singled that horse, or I singled that race in a $5 ticket.
I know that's my favorite one. Is I looked at that, and then the first thing I saw who you used. I was like, okay. I looked at him, and I was like, who are the other two we're not using? Because one of these two sons of bitches is going to win this race, and that's what's good. We're going to put. So we're going to tell you which two are going to win that race, and the 6 to ignore when we get to the second leg of the sequence. But we are looking at Del Mar. Well, I was dancing while the theme music. Someone commented they thought this was going to be dancing, walks out the door. I was dancing when the theme music plays. You just don't see it. So that's why we put the video up as well, because trust me, you don't want to see that. But Mr. Summit, how you doing? What's the best thing you saw this week?
I'm doing good. And I was singing, which you also don't want to hear. So everyone should be happy that video is up with audio. Best thing I saw this week, and it's funny because we just got into it. That's why we're actually late coming on here. Best thing I saw this week was Hidden Scroll. First off, being bought for $525,000. Guess what? Everything's fine in the horse racing world economy if that horse is going for $525,000. But secondly, that we are going to send that horse to Brad Cox. Now, if you're a follower of this show and you've listened for a while, I have been saying for over a year and a half that horse needs a new trainer. We are going to finally be able to play out that assumption that horse needs a new trainer. And I'm excited because Brad Cox will focus that horse. We're going to see Hidden Scroll come back as a sprinter or a turf sprinter, one of the two. I would expect sprinter on the dirt. And I would, as wild as this sounds, I will tell you right now that horse can be in the Breeders' Cup Sprint next year.
One of the two sprints. I'm with you. I really think that the first reaction was when we found out that he went for $525,000. My reaction was, imagine having so much money that you can just take a stack that's $525,000 and just flush it right down the toilet and be perfectly fine. You go, that was a smart decision. That was a good idea on my part. And then Aaron kind of tipped us off that it sounds like the horse could be going to Brad Cox. And that literally it was like the screeching, like both feet on the brakes. I went, wait a minute. All right. This actually could really be something here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's not that Mike and I have been on this page for a long time with Hidden Scroll, that something had to change. My thing was, and I was trying really hard to protect Bill Mott, who was training, but I was like, at this point, you either geld him or you change trainers on. Those are the only two things you have left because they've tried everything else that you can. And, the gelding isn't going to happen because you don't spend $525,000 on a horse just to snip him.
Nope,
so you send him to a new trainer.
Yeah, and you don't, especially not when you're sending, like, I forget who bought him, but it was a breeding operation too. So they're clearly planning on breeding him when this is all over. But we've talked about this though. That horse has never, he's got a ton of chances. So I'm not going to say he's not gotten chances. But Bill Mott moves his horses around a lot. He kind of jumps them from one to the other. You think about Yoshida, who won back-to-back grade ones on the dirt and the turf. You think about some other horses, Harvey's Little Goyle, who did the same thing this year, who was dirt and turf. I think Hidden Scroll needs to be focused. Needs to be a focused sprinter. That's what he did best. He's got lightning quick speed. He can get out to the front. I think if Brad Cox is able to do that and train him the way that Brad Cox trains other horses, I think you're going to end up seeing a pretty productive next year out of him. I think that what they're thinking is, we got this horse who's well-bred, who has these big numbers on the page. We can get some black type. All of a sudden, we have a pretty good sire moving forward across a line that we want to breed to. So I'm kind of back in on Hidden Scroll, which is freaking so 2020. Like, I can't believe I'm back in on Hidden Scroll, but I'm kind of back in on Hidden Scroll a little bit.
I mean, listen, it's the Brad Cox move that happens. And Michael Myers brought up a question. If Hidden Scroll fires, should we be suspicious? I say no, because remember his debut in the slop on Pegasus Day, and everybody lost their minds over the horse because he just looked so amazing. He's shown greatness before, glimpses of greatness. So a trainer switch isn't going to, and he suddenly improves and can be consistent. I don't think that's anything cause to be suspicious with him. I think it goes right to your point, Mike, that just focus him in on something. Let him know this is exactly what your job is going to be from now on. And maybe he just needs that, because he's human beings. If you're constantly moving around and not really sure what your day-to-day job is at your job, it's a little hard for you to be focused or do what you're doing. But if you get up at 6 a.m., you sit down, you write race previews until your fingers fall apart, and then you go to bed and you come back, you do it the next day. That's how you know what your job is. Yeah,
routine's important, man. And so as long as you have that daily routine and you're writing those previews every day, regardless of how good or bad the information is, it's just about having that routine, right? And with Hidden Scroll, he walked into the gate. He's like, am I on dirt? Am I on turf? Am I going 6? Am I going 7? Am I going a mile and a quarter? Now, will I be suspicious? Yes, if he wins the Classic. If this horse turns into a good routing horse, it's going to raise a little bit of a red flag. But man, if he is very good under a mile or at a mile, I don't think that'll be that surprising at all.
Especially like a 1 turn mile. Best thing that I saw is horse racing related for the first time, and I don't remember how long. Mark Casse hit 3,000 wins today. I thought that was really cool. Mark's a trainer that I always really have a lot of respect for. He's had plenty of champions. Did you know that he took out his trainer's license when he was 17, and he won with his very first starter in 1979? And that's how long Mark Casse has been doing this shit.
I did not know that. No, that's a pretty good fact right there.
Yeah, that was actually, it was from your favorite track. Woodbine set out a press release because he's literally got like a 2-to-1 win advantage over the second place trainer in the standings at Woodbine this year. And so Woodbine was like really pumping up Mark Casse, getting 3,000, and Brittany Mayod, who's their PR person over there, had a lot of great info on that. And so I was reading through his story and how he got started, and I was like, Jesus, this guy's incredible. So it just makes me love Mark Casse even more. So tip of the hat. Question though, it happened at Gulfstream Park West. If nobody saw it happen, did it really happen, Mike? Do we know?
Isn't that kind of like Pletcher getting his 5,000th on Breeders' Cup Day at Aqueduct?
At Aqueduct, yeah. Oh, come on. Poor guy couldn't do it at the Breeders' Cup. Poor Pletcher.
And there's people watch Gulfstream Park West. I would argue that Gulfstream Park West, what's the handle comparison between Gulfstream Park West and Woodbine?
Oh, you don't want to play that game. You're not going to win that one.
Are
we talking American handle or international handle?
Total handle.
Total handle?
I bet it's pretty close. I bet it's a lot closer than you think.
If it's close, it's because it's the one time that Bodie Express goes and runs, and everybody knows, well, he's at Gulfstream Park West, so just put 1,000 on him to win. You'll get $10 back.
All right, Aaron, run the numbers on just today. Because the other thing
is... Just today?
Yeah, but it's a random day. If we do the full meet, Gulfstream Park will kill you. Gulfstream Park West would crush you because of the Pick 6 mandatory days. You'd get destroyed. Wouldn't even be close.
Woodbine hasn't even run yet today, have they? It's Thursday. This is when they do their Twilight racing. Of course you're going to win that one.
They're on race 8 already, man. Come on, get with it.
Woodbine? Oh,
yeah.
They must stop that because we're in the winter now. They can't They can't run at night anymore. That makes more sense.
Aaron, do last Thursday then, Aaron.
See, look, this is what's great. Mike and I are already fired up and going at each other, and we haven't even talked about the damn horse racing that we're supposed to be covering, which is the Del Mar Late Pick 4 sequence on Saturday, November 21st. Mike and I are ready. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. All right, kicking things off for the Late Pick 4 sequence at Del Mar on Saturday, November 21st. Race 6 on the card. You got a field of 7 maiden juvenile fillies going 6.5 furlongs on the main track. Favoritism is on a Bob Baffert horse. Imagine that.
No way.
9-5 on Exotic West. And I got to say, this is a horse that I've been pretty excited about debuting. I'm obviously going to use her in here. I've got a stat for you. Bob Baffert, with debuting juvenile fillies in 2020, has had 9 starts, 3 wins, 4 seconds, 2 thirds. Never missed the board. Best part, 224 ROI. I don't think if Exotic West wins, that's going to help his ROI, but it'll at least help us get through here. I know we're both using her.
Yeah, I mean, what's one of the cardinal rules of the Magic Mike show? When the ownership uses their name in the horse gonna be good.
Yeah,
this is a Gary and Mary West horse. This horse is gonna be good. Like I think there's a way this horse loses, but that way is it completely misses the gate, falls down, stumbles, loses the rider. This is the fastest horse in the race. This is where we begin and end really the must uses. I don't have any buzz around this horse, but when you have a homebred by Gary and Mary West that gets West in their name, watch out. I mean, the horse is going to be good, especially when it goes to Baffert, and you get Cedillo up, who's one of his hustle riders. So I expect this horse to have a ton of gate speed. I mean, everything kind of piles up. Whereas if this horse breaks, this race is over. So I'm going to single the 6 in a $5 ticket. I am going to play a 50-cent ticket where I'm going to go more than just the 6 horse. But I assume the 6 was your only must use here as well.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And I actually, because that famous second leg that we're going to get to in a second, where we have 6 of the 8 horses and no overlap, I almost thought that was an all race. And I think you could make we're going to end up making a good argument for that. I would almost have singled the 6. What's that?
You only need my top pick in the next race. So if you have Magic's picks, you better hit the all button.
We'll see about that. Mike says, ask 4 to 5 when the gates open. Yeah, it'd be pretty close to that. I don't know if she goes all the way down to 4 to 5, but here's the thing about her Miss Personality. She only made 1 start, but owned by Gary Mary West, who bred this horse too, was with Bob Baffert. That only start, she won by over 4 lengths. So she ended up not continuing to go. A little injury issue came up, but this is crazy. And you talked about Cedillo being a hustle rider. I'm like, look at that last work. 47 flat from the gate at Santa Anita. At Santa Anita, 47 flat from the gate as a 2-year-old. Yeah, I think this horse is going to be going fast early. And if she gets out of the gate cleanly and is on the lead early, I think this race is over, right?
Yeah, I would think so. And this is also a daughter of hard spun. So as Miranda would say, this is a half to hidden scroll too. So you got that early pedigree to get out there. So I think that there's a great chance that you're going to see that early speed come through here for this 2-year-old filly. I do kind of like to Empire House a little bit right to the inside here. So I am going to go too deep and use the 5 on my 50-cent ticket. Jonathan Wong sending this horse and having it debut at Del Mar, I think, is an interesting angle here, especially when you get Gonzalez up, who is a jockey that he does very well with up north. But when they come down south, they're 2 for 7, 29% hit rate, but a $5.14 ROI. And I'm kind of thinking, okay, I got the 6, so I think can really be a pillar on the 50-cent ticket. Who else can I use here to try and add a lot of value? And what is the one horse I think can beat him? I don't like any of the horses that have started, so that kind of gravitated me toward the 5-horse Empire House. So I'll take a shot with the 5 as well on my 50-cent ticket, go too deep and play 5-6.
So I went too deep as well. I ended up going with a 7 Peachtree Road. And a lot of this is based off of similar thread to why neither of us singled Private Mission when she was in the stakes last week against Astute with Richard Mendel. I'm not saying Peachtree Road's Astute, don't get me wrong. But if I remember this race very clearly when she debuted, because it was Princess Nora's debut and Princess Nora skied, she came in on a foe just a little oddly and made the horse check back. So that's why she got disqualified. But she was running well. She was 3 wide in a wall of 4 horses in the far turn, and the 2 horses on either side of her kind of came together a little bit in front of her, and Smith had to check up a little bit. She got crowded, boxed out, and lost all of her momentum. This is happening as she's supposed to be changing her leads. So she's late to change her leads, but she never gave up. And that's what I was really impressed by, is that Mike Smith didn't, as he does with these juveniles, I've talked about it, he'll sometimes just let them do their thing and try and teach them something. She didn't give up, and I thought that was a pretty impressive thing. Now, she's going to have to be a hell of a lot better than that, even without the trouble she had, if she wants to beat that horse to her inside. But kind of like you, I was like, if something doesn't happen right here, and usually with Bob Baffert juveniles, if something wacky happens, it's at Del Mar. I'm like, all right, I'm going to use the 7 here. I did like the 5 a little bit. It's just my concern. I think with her breeding, she really wants to be a 2-turn horse. And I see this as like, let's get her a sprint. Let's get a race under her belt. Next time out, we'll stretch her out, maybe at Los Al, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think the breeding does point to 2 turns. The Juan Gonzalez thing for me is why I really ended up on that horse. And based on what we've seen from Princess Nora, being aired by Princess Nora isn't exactly a positive in my mind anymore, which is kind of weird to say, but it's like, I think that, look, if I think that Exotic West is better than Princess Nora, which I do, based on what we've seen on the paper here, I'm going to think that this horse is going to air Peachtree Road as well.
I should say at the time, before the Breeders' Cup, Princess Nora was the best 2-year-old filly that we have on the West Coast. We talk about this in the Breeders' Cup too. That we've seen. That's true. Our juveniles on the West Coast really aren't shaping up like with the New York, Kentucky ones this year so far. The second place horse in that race, Flash Magic. That's another Bob Baffert. That's Good Magic's little half sister. So she has plenty of talent too. But yeah, the Princess Nora Flash Magic thing did get me a little worried. But it's Mike Smith. Dick Mandella's 6 wins from 12 starts at this meet. He was hot early. He's continued to be hot. He's only missed the board one of those 12 starts. So I like her here. But the 5, you made good arguments for it. I want to talk about the 1 just real quick because I almost added her in. She ended up getting cut for price reasons, but she's faced some very sharp horses. Doug O'Neill had her with his string in New York earlier in the summer. So she was at Saratoga for 2 starts. She was at Belmont. The top 2 horses in that maiden special weight that were ahead of her when she finished 3rd, they're going to be coming back in the Demoiselle Stakes in a couple of weeks to try and get Kentucky Oaks points. That Millefiel, which I really hope we never handicap a races in because God help us both trying to pronounce that name. That's a Juddmonte homebred with Bill Mott, who is supposed to be a really strong routing candidate. So there were good horses there. Pizzazz and Ivy League beat her when she made her California debut. It was on the turf, so forget the fact that she lost. But the top 2 finishers from there were initially horses they were trying to get into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf at one point. So plenty of good horses there. I just think that she'll eventually get that maiden broken. I just don't think it's against some of these horses here.
I mean, I could see her, and the 1 was my next horse in. So the 1 was my third pick here. It was my deep ticket use. This is the pick up the pieces horses. This horse doesn't really want to sprint. And that's my biggest concern here. If we were going 6, I wouldn't even consider this horse. But the fact that we're going 6.5, I could see that last half furlong where both the experience and the fact that she wants the distance could really make the difference overall and getting her up to the front. But I think the 6 is going to be a monster, and I think the 1's going to get bet. And so that kind of edged me toward the 5, where I think you're going to get a big price on it, and that could really balloon the sequence for us.
Let's move on to race 7 at Del Mar on Saturday, November 21st. And if anybody has a good marriage counselor on speed dial, I would love that phone number after the show because we're probably going to need it. Field of 8 horses, 3 and up, who've never won 2 races and either started for a $50,000 tag or less, or they're in here for a $50,000 tag. Your favoritism is on the 2, Hartel at 5-2, the 3, Johnny Padres 3-1. As I said before, I could have made an argument for this being an all race, and the fact that we're using 6 of the 8 and have 0 overlap really lends itself to that. Take it away with your top choice here.
I'll take Square Eddie Lone Speed going 5 furlongs on the turf. That's all you need to know. You're kidding me. You're leaving off Lone Speed on the turf at Del Mar.
Are you? Because you print your PPs, right?
Yeah.
You print them off now? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you missed a page because actually the 1 and the 2 are faster than that horse is out of the gate. And the 1 is adding blinkers, has Ricky Gonzalez who can get a horse out of there like he's Kendrick Carmouche. Yeah, I think the 1 and 2 are going to be faster to the lead than the 8, and I think the 8's dead in the water.
The 1's never made the lead turf sprinting without going down the hill at Santa Anita. The 2 horse is a miler. Neither of them are going to be able to go as fast as the 8 wants. The 8's the improving horse, a 3-year-old who's consistently improved the last 3 starts, especially since adding blinkers 3 back. The 8 horse is going to take another step forward, and I am singling the 8 horse in my $5 ticket over both of these 2 horses.
All right, Mike, you're a smart guy. Let's see if we can try and work this out together. All right, so the 8, that's your top choice.
Yeah.
Career best buyer over this course and distance when he broke his maiden, right? 78.
Yep.
If he wants to compete with the best horses in here with their best buyers, he needs, at minimum, 10% buyer improvement if he wants to compete. So you're expecting that a 3-year-old facing winners for the first time, facing open company for the first time, is going to have 10% improvement off the bench for a trainer that does not do that off the bench. And also, by the way, if this horse was so good and improving every single start, why the follow-up Curtis Kellaward are you putting this horse in for a $50,000 tag? It makes no sense to me. It doesn't pass the smell test. Something is wrong about this.
You're putting in for the $50,000 tag because no one's going to claim it, and also means that you can go into the optional allowance level. So you can go in for the allowance, the 50K allowances and other allowances that are in California with that tag. That's why you're putting him in for the tag. The fact that he's off the bench is a really BS argument. He ran on August 8th, 2020. This isn't a long layoff. This is a short layoff. It was the last Del Mar meet, so I'm not as worried about that. You're also completely ignoring the fact that Cecil is 25% turf sprinting, one of the best turf sprinting trainers there. And the 2 horse, who has Peter Miller, who's the other turf sprinting trainer who I'd usually argue for, is 7% off a 180-day layoff. Your 2 horse that's supposed to be so fast is off a 180-day layoff for a trainer that sucks coming off 180-day layoffs.
I am so glad you brought up the 2 because I have an excellent segue into that.
Also, by the way, who's running an 88 buyer? That's a 10% improvement. Who's running an 88 buyer?
Hang on. I know you're the math guy, but 10% of 78 is 7.8. You add that to 78,
fine,
and you're looking at 86.
Who's running 86 buyer? Smart ass.
The 5, the 2.
The 2 is not. The 5.
The 2 who's had 82, 84, 84 before he had the break. Okay, we'll get to the 2 in the second break.
The 5 highest career buyer turf sprinting is 80. Where's that improvement coming from?
This is a good time to remind the folks at home, Mike and I actually do love each other. Mommy and daddy are fighting, but it's okay, kids. We'll still have
You're going to use the 1-2-5 here, huh?
I'm going 1-2-5. All right, let's talk about the 2. All right, Peter Miller. You brought up the layoff thing. Peter Miller sucks ass at getting horses off of a layoff normally. Did you know if Peter Miller and Flavien Prat get together on a horse returning back from at least 300 days layoff, which is this horse, 3 for 7.
Yeah, I
3 for 7. All those wins are they make him 7%. Pratt was aboard for him.
Do you know Square Eddie's turf sprinting on a Tuesday at Del Mar have never lost?
I don't know that that's actually true. They used to run Tuesday races sometimes.
I don't know if Square Eddie was putting them out back then. I hear you, man. And look, I looked at the 2 for a while here. I looked at the 1 for a while here. I see why you're ending up there. I can't get on the 2 because of the price. I like vehemently against the 2 off that long of a layoff, who's going to go off as the favorite here, who I think is going to be challenged if it wants to get the lead, because you do have the 8 horse, who I think is the fastest early, turf sprinting fastest early. I think the 1 horse is going to try and show some speed and kind of is forced to send a little bit from that rail. So I think the 8 clears the 1 and the 2 is kind of in no man's land here. So I really don't like the 2 in this spot. But I understand, obviously, Peter Miller sprinting, you get Pratt on the turf. All those reasons are very good reasons to gravitate toward it. It's also why other people will bet it and why this horse will be overused in the pick 4 and why I don't want to end up on it. So I can see how you got to the 2. For me, that was just not one I wanted to be with.
I'll be honest. I saw that he was the 5-2 favorite when I literally scrolled down to it like 5 minutes ago, because I don't do these with the morning lines normally. So I saw that. I was like, God damn it. And yeah, you're right. He's going to get overbet. My whole point with him, honestly, is that Pratt I was not going to use him until I looked up Pratt's stats specifically with this. And I was like, let's just see. He's only done it 7 times. He's won 3 times. So it tells me Pratt and his agent, they're very smart. They only would do this if the horse was running well. But Peter Miller 7% with this kind of a layoff for a reason. The 1 horse I talked about, it's Baltus. He's putting Ricky Gonzalez up. They're very strong together, both at Del Mar and elsewhere. It's his second start off the layoff. I think he definitely needed it. The horse that finished second just ahead of him by a neck, his next start last out, so he's got that going for him. The blinkers on is not actually a great move for Baltus. He's only 12%, but the blinkers on, putting Gonzalez on, who's a very strong gate jockey, and then now the fact he's on the rail, he has to send. If he successfully sends and is somehow able to get a lone speed and hold off your 8 early, he could end up being dangerous. But you brought it up. He hasn't done very strong in these turf sprints before. It's more just I'm watching what the connections are doing and seeing how everything's lining up, and I'm expecting a much better race than when he came out back off that break.
Yeah, he needs to take a big step forward. I mean, he has his career best buyer is 80. We're probably at the point where we can't expect much more improvement later in the 5-year-old season. Maybe you can get a little bit over that 80 number, but not a lot. Wasn't like you're just saying he's a pace threat. Well, the last race they went 23 seconds, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf in the opening quarter, and he was 2 lengths off that. So he's going to have to be much quicker out of the gate, and maybe that's why they added the blinkers to be able to be any type of a pace threat. So for me, breaking from the inside, having to add pace, adding blinkers, there's enough reasons why I'm going to look elsewhere and look for other horses that I think can take a step forward and improve versus 2 horses where I think I kind of know what they are, and I don't think they're necessarily in the best element that they want to be in right now.
Let's talk about trainer Mark Glatt, because he's got 2 horses in here. And of course, you and I split right down the aisle. I've been hogging the mic here, so I'll let you talk about why you like the 6 Cunning Munnings. And I really thought that the second word was linguist for a second there, but Cunning Munnings, take it away.
Yeah. So first off, we know Mike likes 4-year-olds older in the season. That's a logical improvement angle for me. This horse is going to be coming off the layoff, and it is a longer layoff, 180 days. But it's going to be coming back and going back to turf sprinting. I believe that a trainer will, and we talked about this a lot, will tip his hand in the first race a horse starts in his career, what the trainer believes the horse is best at doing. Cunning Munning started out turf sprinting. That was the first race that this horse ran in. Ran a 53 buyer, didn't run that well. They shift him over to dirt. He takes a nice bump up, a little bit of regression, a nice bump up. Send him to turf sprinting for 1 turf sprint race. Bam. all the way up to an 81 buyer, a massive jump. And now we're coming back and we're turf sprinting again. Hernandez, I think, is actually I like him more than Cedillo turf sprinting, which is weird to say because Cedillo is one of the leading riders there, but I like Hernandez turf sprinting. Glatt's not that bad. He's 13% off this layoff, 17% or 12% turf sprinting, but I like the trip this horse is going to get. Like what I want at Santa Anita or at Del Mar, I want to either be on the lead or I want to be right behind that pack of 3 horses that are fighting for the lead. If the 1, the 2, and the 8 send, which I don't think will happen, I think the 8's clearing, but if the 1, 2, and 8 all do send, 6 is sitting the trip. This is the horse you actually have to worry about because this is the one that has logical improvement angles. We're already at an 81 buyer. We only need to step up 3 or 4 buyer points. We're ahead of the entire field from a buyer perspective. You're coming off the layoff. You're going to be fresh. You're going to sit the trip. You got a great jockey. I think the 6 makes a ton of sense.
I did like it. He was, if somebody scratches out of this race and I don't make other adjustments to the ticket, the 6 will take the place of whichever horse, especially if it's the 5 who ends up being my top pick. I like the fact that Abel Cedillo seemingly chose this horse over this 6 there. Cedillo and Hernandez, they're both great jockeys. If you take one off the other, I mean, you're really kind of nitpicking about if you think that Hernandez is a better turf sprint rider. They're both talented guys, so it's not a huge thing, but I like that he seems to have chosen the 5. This is a war front on turf. I was a little surprised this horse wasn't even like an underneath one. Now, you're probably going to point to the fact that this horse was routing the entire time until Mark Glatt claimed him. I like that Mark Glatt claimed him for $25,000. Look at the date of the gelding. They claimed a war front horse that was still intact as a 5-year-old. They snipped him and they gave him time off till August. Do you know who else Mark Glatt has done that to and done really well? Eddie Haskell. Eddie Haskell was a damn fine turf sprinter until he went to the Breeders' Cup, and then everything's kind of derailed. But this looks a lot like what they did with Eddie Haskell. Just maybe not quite the talent level because Eddie was, a stakes runner. This is not so much. Yeah. Not so much. Forgive that starter allowance race at Santa Anita. Went right to his nose out of the gate. Forget that one. This is a horse that is, going to be making his 3rd start of the form cycle. I chose him instead of the 6 because I don't love Glatt off of a layoff like that. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the fact that they put this horse back in for a claim off the layoff, that they put him back in for 32, the 5 horse, and then the claim was withdrawn after the race. So it was the waiver thing. They were able to put him risk-free. So he didn't actually run for a tag that race. So he's been protected 3 races in a row, which is a positive for you. And I was going to say, it's a good sign that then he was protected the next 2 races. So it is a positive that they've protected him since that race. I haven't seen it from this horse turf sprinting. That to me is the biggest issue. It is the routing problem. And it's not even that we're going 5.5. We're going 5. And I realize that he ran a good race over this track off the layoff at 13-1. I realize all of that, but he didn't win. And that effort isn't good enough to win today. And that to me is the problem. He needs to improve off of that effort. And that's the only really data point that we have from him turf sprinting. He didn't show a ton of speed going longer. Like a couple times he was early up, but I just don't think this horse is going to be that in touch with the field that I think speed has been very good turf sprinting. I'm not sure this horse is going to be close enough to make an impact. And I think definitely the 6 is going to be closer. So that's the Glatt that I want in this spot.
Makes sense. I don't think we talked about your last horse, correct? The 3?
Yeah, Johnny Padres, man.
Johnny Padres.
Yeah, so this is another one where if you take out the mile race, 2 back, the previous 3 on Del Mar, all turf sprinting, all fit here with this group. I realize we're adding blinkers. Don't love the fact that we're 0 for 12 with blinkers, or 0 for 14 adding blinkers. So that's definitely a negative. But blinkers on, we are 11%. So at least you have some positivity on the blinkers on side. I like the fact that this horse has just consistently improved. Turf sprinting is clearly what this horse wants to do. It's 3 turf sprints or his 3 best races. We're getting right back to turf sprinting. This was the 3rd horse in. I'm clearly not as passionate about this horse as I was the 6 or the 8, and I'm sure you can hear that in my voice. But I felt like this horse has a chance to continue to improve because it's a 3-year-old. This is grazing, turf sprinting. That's another angle I like. So I'm taking 3 horses that are 3, 3, and 4 that I think can all take a step forward, where I feel like you're taking 3 horses will all have back performances that are good enough to win, but we haven't seen them recently. And so it's an interesting headbutt in that sense, where I'm taking the horses that logically could improve. You're hoping we can regress or we get back to their original form. And we know who will win this.
3 was an interesting one. I don't hate this pick. Steve Miotti.
Did you hate the 8 or the 6?
What's that?
Did you hate the 8 or the 6?
Oh, I hate the 8. I definitely hate the 8. Yeah. No. I definitely hate the 8. Yeah. I just don't. Never mind. We're not going to get it. The 8's done. That's old news. The 3. My little bit concern is that that last race at Del Mar, it looked great. It came 2 weeks ago.
Can we at least agree that Aaron picking the 4 horse is nuts?
Yeah, Aaron's literally just that cook in the kitchen stirring the pot right now. Ignore him.
Yeah, he's wrong.
Ignore him. We're not going to talk about the 4 horse.
So text Heather and have her come get him real quick.
The 4 horse is probably great. I think that's why Aaron picked. I like the blinkers on move here from Yadi. It's only 11%, but like I said, I like to look for things that are, trainers trying to change something up. I just don't like the fact that he was in for that 50 tag against straight 3-year-olds and couldn't get the job done. And I think this is a tougher group than what he was facing there, just because he's facing older horses that have won a lot, or that have run a lot, not won a lot. But I didn't love that. But I think the 3, it's not a bad pick at all. Especially, Grayson's great. Calbred angle, which is funny because didn't last week I love a Calbred and single him in a turf sprint against Open Company. I think I learned my lesson.
I tried to talk you out of that horse.
I think I'm overcorrecting as I hear myself. That's out of that one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I would like the fact that at least this horse was able to break its mate against Open Company. It was at Golden Gate, so there is some success in Open Company. And I don't think this is a field of world beaters. I think the horses you're pointing to that all have back races, I can make solid arguments against why I think they won't run to those. And that puts this 3 right in the field, if that is true. So either my thought is right and the 1, 2, and 5 don't show up, and it's obviously the 3, 6, or 9, or 3, 6, or 8, or the 1, 2, and 5 show up, and I hope one of my horses improves. So I got 2 ways to win. You've got 1 way to win.
Listen, I only need 1 way to win. All right. I think we can see who Aaron's choosing Aaron's picking in the divorce too.
We're throwing the $20 spot right back on this, right? My 3 versus your 3.
Let's move on to the 3rd leg of the late.
That tells you how not confident he is. He won't even drop a 20 on it.
On Saturday, November 21st, race 8. You got a field of 8 Calbred maidens, 3 and 4, going 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. Favoritism here is the 3 Brace for Impact at 5-2, the 4 Little Richards Bellow at 3-1, the 2 Chipper at 4-1. Where are you going on top?
I like the 3 horse in the last race more than I like any horse in this race. This race sucks. Let's just get that right out of the way. I went with the 4 Little Richards Bellow on top, and I'm not exactly ecstatic about this. This horse finds fun in burning people's money. It's lost as the favorite the last 2 starts at $1.30 and $2.30. This horse doesn't necessarily like to win. Enjoys finishing second. Pretty much everything I hate in a horse. There's really nothing that is awe-inspiring out of this field, though. And so I'm going to end up with the 4 as a top pick here. It's the only horse I thought was a must-use because I really hated pretty much every other horse. This was a war of attrition race for me. I eliminated horses versus picking horses. And so I ended up 4 deep in the 50-cent ticket. I'm going to go 3 deep in the $5 ticket, but we'll start off with the 4. Where was your top pick, Magic?
Man, the 4 didn't make my ticket, but I tried so hard to fit him in because I do like the fact that Peter and sticking with Reese Bully or vice versa, and the 2 of them are really good together. I didn't think that the 4 was the best stalker, and I didn't think he was the fastest early, and I didn't see if he's not either of those things, I don't think he's good enough. But you're right, this is not a field of world. These are Calbred maidens, most all of them geldings.
Yeah, it's not wonderful.
No, my top picks, I had 2 must uses. One of them we used together, so I'll save that for second. I'm going to use the 5, Scary Fast Smile. Mark Glatt off the layoff. It's not my favorite thing, but this isn't as big of a layoff as the 6 was coming off of in the previous race. It's just slightly. He's got 15% here. As it was 10%, 11% another one. This show is just complete shit. I like that Mark Glatt's adding the blinkers. You want to talk about a guy who knows what he's doing with the blinkers? 27 first time, 23% or 28% when he's doing blinkers on in general. So that's a huge move. I love Smiling Tiger as Calbreds when they're sprinting, especially on dirt. Nowhere else out of that. I also like the fact that they claimed this horse sight unseen. They claimed him for $50K out of his debut and then immediately ran him back protected. He should benefit from a hot early pace if that ends up coming out of here. He might just be a pick up the pieces, but if there ends up being a speed duel or if the horses in front of him can't handle that 6.5, I think he'll be able to. I know he's only run 5.5, but I'm going to take a shot on him, especially at that price, 10-1. Let's talk about the 7 though, and then I'll let you rebut the 5 a little bit as well because we both like the 7. The 7 was my other must-use Square Root. Hey, it's a Square Eddie, Mike. Are Square Eddies any good? I don't know. Do you know who is good though?
It's going to be
O'Neill. when he's got Redham racing horses. I don't know about other people with Redham racing horses, but I know Doug O'Neill can get them done. Horse is making a second start with blinkers, which I think is big. That improvement from the first start to second, I know that was on turf, but it was a really nice buyer improvement. He showed a lot more interest early racing there. Now he's cutting back to sprinting. So I expect him to be pretty sharp, a lot sharper than he was in his career debut. And also 20% turf to dirt for Doug O'Neill. So those are the reasons I liked him. Are there any about the 7 that you like that I didn't mention?
I think this might be the speed of the speed. To be honest, I think this horse might be able to get the lead over both the 3 and the 4. And if so, I kind of want the horse that's in the lead here. A little concerned about the distance, but I like the fact that we're coming out of a mile and cutting back to 6.5. As you mentioned, I think that's going to give the horse a little bit of a fitness edge over some of the other horses that are coming from shorter distances or just off the 6.5. So I think the 7, who is my second choice in here, is definitely a horse worth using. I'm actually going to flip. I like your angle on the 5. So you can take the 6 off my ticket and throw the 5 onto my ticket.
Oh man, I had such a good. Oh damn, I was so excited to roast you for the 6 too.
Shit. No, I hate this freaking race. I led with I hate this race. So yeah. It's not. This is the spot where I'm gonna be like, you know what, Magic made a good point. We're gonna go ahead and agree with Magic here.
Don't bet the 5.
I'll use the 4, 5, 7, and then I'm gonna also use the 3-horse brace for impact, which is just to be honest, it is a cowardly chicken shit move to include this horse, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because if I play the 4 and I don't play the 3 and the 3 wins, I'll feel like an idiot. So I'm going to go ahead and not feel like an idiot for if the 3 wins and be a little disappointed in myself if the 3 loses. But I think you kind of have to include the 3 if you're playing the 4. These 2 horses were a head apart when they faced each other last time. I don't see how you're going to be able to separate these 2 too much. So I'm going to go 3, 4, 5. And 3, 4, 5, 7 in this race, and I'm not going to be very passionate about any of those picks.
I also use the 3 for the same reasons. This horse, from a buyer perspective, is standing on everybody else's shoulders. Yep. He's shown talent. He's the only 4-year-old in this race, so you've got that angle going. He's a little bit more seasoned, a little more growth. This was such a defensive use because I without looking in the morning line, I was like, this horse is going to get over bet like crazy, and it's going to be really driving down the value. I tried to leave this horse off, and it came down to the 3 and 4 for me, and ultimately I was like, the 3, his form is just showing he's right there on the verge of breaking through. This could be the spot that he does it. I would expect him to go up to the front. I don't know if he is going to get the sole lead. A lot of times you look at his chart, he's had to fight or been sitting right off and then hasn't quite been able to capitalize. But if he can handle the 6.5 furlongs here, like he's done okay with it in the past, I think he's got a shot. But goddamn, you really have to hate that sub 2 to 1, a 6 to 5, 7 to 5 favorite in this race.
Yeah, and that's the shitty part. Your argument against the 4 is he's not the best speed and he's not the best and he can't stalk. Well, that's the exact same argument for the 3, right? Or against the 3, because the 7 is faster than both of them. And so it's like, can either of them pass him? But like you said, he towers over this field from a buyer perspective. So you kind of have to at least consider. So I'm going to use him in the 50-cent ticket. We're chucking him out of the $5 ticket. We're going to use the 5 instead of the 3. I just made the update for you. Don't worry about it. I got you back. So I'm going to end up going 4, 5, 7 in the $5 ticket and 3, 4, 5, 7 in the 50-center.
Oh, I did miss it on the $5. Thanks for catching that. The last horse I used, because I also went 4 deep, I used the 2 Chipper, Mark Glatt, Flavian Pratt.
I knew you were going to use this horse. I'm 100% sure you're going to use this horse.
Yeah, this is it's. I also love Red Baron's Barn when they own horses, so this is great. Son of Street Boss, out of a Speightstown mare, so is perfectly suited for sprinting, especially on the dirt. The horse, he lost by 12 lengths, but I watched that replay because I was like, 12 lengths? Like, what happened? Well, it was a 5-horse field, and they went 4 deep behind Jessica Pfeiffer and her 10-pound allowance on the front end, and Jessica won by 12, and Chipper was stuck 4 wide. And if Pratt doesn't do something stupid like let Chipper go 4 wide in a 5-horse field again, I think he's going to have a chance. He's going to need a big step up from the buyer's perspective, but this is a connections play. This is what Mark Glatt is best at, is dirt sprinting. That's why I'm going with this horse.
Yeah, I mean, they put this horse into an overnight stakes race, second time out, on Breeders' Cup weekend, actually, in 2019, right off of a non-winning maiden race. So that tells you what they thought about this horse in the barn. So I'm not going to knock you for that. The problem for me is the horse has not improved since then. I mean, this has just been a flat line. We're just beep, believe, ever since the debut. And so those are the type of horses I'll generally try and avoid because this is a career maiden in the making. That's my biggest concern. This is a horse that could end. You're going to blink, and this horse is going to be 0 for 15 and taking money every single start. And I'm trying to get ahead of the train here and not run over by it.
And I can guarantee at least 10 of those times I'll have picked the horse too in that stretch. All right, Mike, let's move on to the fourth and final leg here. Race 9 at Del Mar on Saturday, November 21st. You got a field of 9 geldings, all geldings, 4 and up, plus 2 also eligibles, going 1 mile and a 16th at Del Mar's turf. And then coming out of the chute there, this is open 25 claimers. But what's notable about this, Mike, look who's getting to ride on the turf for the first time. Jessica Pfeiffer on the 6 Sky Confidential, 30-1. I don't want anything to do with that horse. God bless you, Jessica. You'll get it on your second try on the turf. Where are you going on top in this field?
I thought this race was tough. I thought you could really go a lot of different directions. I'm going to go with a magic angle here and use Mike Smith in the last as my top pick. I'm going to go to the 8-horse French Getaway. There's a lot of forces that kind of middle through these buyer numbers of that low 80s that you can go and look at different angles in different ways. This horse seems to enjoy Del Mar, 2 for 6 with 2 third-place finishes as well. Very good at the distance, 2 for 3. I like the fact that we get Smith aboard for the 4th time and 5th out of 7 starts. Horse is in a grade 3-5 back. It's been sitting in this kind of claiming level, so we know it fits well. And you've got these big races every now and then. You got an 86 in that grade 3. When we talk about how graded buyers generally are a little bloated for comparing to it, and you can kind of tell here when you look at this, like, yeah, okay, did he really run that, or was that just because the race was
5th beaten 8 lengths and he gets an 86 in a grade 3 marathon? No.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but I do think this horse is pretty consistent. You've got an 89 back at Del Mar going 1 mile and 3/8. Probably wants a touch more distance. But with a lot of horses where I'm not sure they want 1 mile and 16th, I'm going to go for the horse that wants more distance than the horse that necessarily wants less, especially with someone like Mike Smith aboard. And I think there is enough pace in here to be able to kind of drive forward that early foot, and that I think will help him run down the field later. I am going to take the horse I'm afraid of. It's the other must-use on the front end, and that is going to be the 5-horse Golden Donut. I think this is going to be your leader. I'm not sure this horse can get 1 mile and 16th, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have the horse that's ahead at the top of the stretch, and that's the reason why I'm going to use the 5 Golden Donut.
You love to bet that horse on this show. I think that's the 3rd time you've picked that horse.
Really?
On this show, yeah.
That's not a good sign since he's only won twice since we started doing this. Not won since we started doing this.
Exactly. He hasn't won since March of 2017, but you picked him. I know you for sure picked him at least once because I laughed really hard off screen about Golden Balls being the name of his sire. Because apparently I'm 5. Listen, I wouldn't love it, but if Golden Donut wins, I'd be happy because Gio Franco hasn't won a race at Del Mar since I think before you and I started doing this show, and I'm not exaggerating. It's been a long time. He went the entire summer meet without a win. It was 70, 80 something crazy starts at Del Mar. So if he can get off the schneid, I'll be happy for him because he's a nice guy. But I didn't like the fact that he hasn't won since he won 2 races, January and March of 2017, back to back. And since then, he's cashed a lot of checks. You wouldn't mind owning him, but it's just, I don't like him in this spot. It is a big class drop, so maybe that'll wake him up a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, from the Franco side, the easiest thing to do is ride on the front. So we got that. We got the class drop. I'm just hoping that we can go wire to wire here. That's why I'm using this horse. I'm not going to make this wild case about how it's going to improve X amount or anything like that. I just think this is the fastest horse in the field, and hopefully he can take him gate to wire.
I'm just looking over the morning line for the first time. I am such a freaking chalk eating weasel. I took the top 4 picks on the morning line. Sometimes this is why you should go back after handicapping and make sure you didn't do something like that. I like the 8. You got the Mike Smith angle. Bob Hess Jr. has burned me more times than I'd like to admit in races like this, where I'm like, I don't know about this horse. I'll probably get 2nd, 3rd, and then Hess can just tweak him a little bit and just get him to show back up. So I think he's got a strong chance here. Likes the distance, obviously. 2 for 3 at it, and I'm with you. You brought up. I don't know that many horses here can handle going 1 mile and 16th, especially with that shoot route. I'm going to trust that Mike Smith is sticking around to try and ride here and get one in. Wasn't my top pick. I really, really, really like the 4-horse Worthy Turk, and I really don't like that he's a 5-2 favorite. But he talks about Miller after a layoff. I mean, it was only 2 months, but wasn't that great. This horse second off the layoff, I think this is where he's going to succeed. And his race 2 back was over this course and circuit for a slightly higher price tag, and he won. Pratt was aboard that day. Now we're getting Abel Cedillo. Again, I think it's a pretty close comparison there. Cedillo and Pratt, 26% with positive ROI when they're at Del Mar. Peter Miller, this is what he did, especially when in routing. Turf is where he's better at. Dirt routes, he's not always that great. But I think this horse is going to be there. They keep running him for the optional weight allowance in the tags. It seems to be working okay for him. So I'm not too worried about that. Sometimes it makes me worried, but who's going to claim off of Peter Miller? You don't do that very often with success. So 4 was one of my top picks here.
Yeah, I looked at the 4 long and hard. I ended up not using the 4 because Golden Donut had beaten him, because French Getaway, who's the 8 horse, has beaten him. So, that buyer just kind of was a head scratcher to me. I don't understand where that 85 came from. I mean, you have to go back to 2018 for him to run anything close to that, and he's never topped that. He runs a career best buyer off the layoff. So, does that mean we're expecting another step forward here? Because if that is the case, then yeah, there's some world of hurt coming. But I think it's a lot more likely the horse regresses off a career best buyer, off a layoff, going a distance he doesn't want to go, then he is going to improve off that. So that's the reason I ended up, the combination of reasons I ended up not using the 4 here. I thought the 1 horse was kind of interesting. Justin's Quest, breaking off the rail. You get Rispoli up. This is a Baltus horse, second off the layoff. First time trying turf. And that kind of caught my eye in a race where I didn't have any huge angle here. I did look up Justin Phillips' stats. He's much better turf sprinting than he is turf routing. So that was kind of a little bit of a bummer. But this horse is also probably much better going shorter. This is one of those where I'm hoping the fact that we're on turf and we're breaking out of the 1 hole helps this horse get the mile on the 16th, because that was my biggest concern. But if this horse does take any type of step forward off the dirt numbers or even runs laterally, the horse is right in the mix. And we get Rispoli, and we're getting Baltus, who's, I think, one of the better turf trainers in Southern California. You combine all that, it's a horse that I don't want to leave off. I'm hoping we can actually float a little up from 3 to 1, but we'll see on race day whether or not we're able to get that number.
Yeah, I liked him too. That was my other top choice actually in the race. Or I'm sorry, must use. Somebody get those mixed up. This is second off the layoff. I think that's going to be helpful for him. But since that start at Santa Anita, when he didn't do very well, Baltus gave him 2 works on the Del Mar turf. And the Del Mar turf, if you don't know, a lot of turf courses do this. They put up the orange pylons in the middle. They call them dogs, and you're supposed to train on the outside so they can preserve the inside of the turf course for the racing. So don't look at the times necessarily, especially for a race like this where he's in for a 25K tag. I like the fact that Baltus put him on the turf twice before entering him in this race, before going, okay, I'm sure that this is going to end up being a good decision. You're right that Justin Phillips' numbers as a turf route sire, they're not good, but his dam produced 2 turf winners. So that's where I think a lot of the turf part is going to be coming from. So I liked him as well. We also agree on the last horse we haven't talked about, which is going to be the 3-horse Acker, is a Doug O'Neill, Flavian Pratt juncture. They don't get together that often. When they do, it's 20% over the last 2 years. Look at who's had this horse. He started with Mandela, with the guys who have bred him. Then Peter Miller claims him. Then he goes to John Sadler. Then he goes back to Peter Miller. Neil French experimented with it, didn't quite work out, but Doug O'Neill gets him. Other than Neil French, these are all trainers who ply their trade in the claiming game, or at least Sadler did for a while, and are able to build up horses. So the fact that all of these trainers saw something in him where they wanted to spend money, the fact that Miller went and got him a second time because he liked him that much tells me this horse has potential. The problem is that last race, you cannot do that again when he had a 7-pound allowance with the bug and finished well behind Worthy Turk, who I'm using, and Muthkal, who's not even eligible, or isn't also eligible for this race. So a little worried about that, but second off the layoff, major jockey upgrade to Flavian Pratt. Why not? Why did you like this horse?
I mean, I'm in the same boat with you. It's playing Pratt in this race with the jockey upgrade. I think is a huge step forward. Again, I went through this race and I kept going back to, okay, who do I think can actually, who can get the distance and who's going to be able to get the job done? And that goes back to Acker, who is 1 for 9 at the distance, but has 4 thirds. And those thirds all came against company that was better than this. So yeah. I'm assuming that part of the problem is not the distance, it's the class. And so now we're getting that class relief. So I feel like that Acker's in a good spot here. I don't have much to add on to what you said. The last horse off my entire ticket was in this race. I want to get your opinion on this horse real quick.
Sure.
The 9 Khaleesi. This horse I thought was really, really interesting. And if you look at, so this horse was dropped down to 12.5 level and runs a dud buyer. And I think this horse won't get bet because of that. But I almost think you should draw a line through that race because it was on the dirt. So you get Glatt claiming this horse, who was 25% off the claim. Bays stays with it. Bays has won with this horse on the turf before. And we're getting back to the turf and we're dropping in class from where we'd last seen this horse on the turf, which was non-winners of 140,000. If anyone in my sequence scratches, the 9 will most likely make my ticket and may make my ticket anyway. This was that horse that was kind of right on that edge for me, so I wanted to make sure I at least mentioned it here in the pod.
This is crazy. I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to ask you for your thoughts on the 9 because I had the same debate about trying to figure out if I could fit him in or not. You brought up great points. I'll add one to it. Who trained the horse before Doug O'Neill claimed him? Mark Glatt.
Yeah.
Who claimed him back from Doug O'Neill when the price? So Glatt lost him for 32. He got him back for 12.5. Like that's with one of the original owners coming in for that one. So I'm like, all right. I think Glatt just sat there. He could have got 25 and said, no. We're gonna wait because they're gonna go even lower, and they got him for even lower. So I like that move.
Well, and he got claimed away going a mile at Santa Anita with Tyler Bays up and winning the race. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why you could point to this 9 horse being in a good spot here.
Yeah. If there is enough scratches that Mythcall jumps in, I would seriously consider adding him because this is a speed horse who's getting a speed jockey back aboard who knows this horse very well. It's Jonathan Wong. You talked about how great Wong and Gonzalez have been together dating back to their Golden Gate days. So the Myth, I hope that he doesn't draw in because it's going to make me really have to screw up my.
Oh, I think we lost Magic there. I agree with Magic here. I think Mythcall is a horse that you really should look at using. If we end up seeing a situation where Mythcall ends up drawing in, I would actually move Mythcall all the way up to a must-use. And I would probably end up going, I think he's the 11, 8, and then the 5 would be next up. And then I'd have that 1, 3, 9 in that next section there. So if Mythcall does draw in, and it's going to take a couple scratches, then I think you almost have to use that horse in this spot. It's dangerous, as Magic mentioned. It's a speed horse with a speed jockey. Its buyers fit well for this spot. So I do think that Mythcall is an excellent fit in this race if Mythcall is able to draw in. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give out the tickets here since we don't have Magic, and I'm sure he's trying to get his way back here. But I will start with my own tickets here. So I am going to play a 50-cent ticket. I'm going to go 5-6 with 3-6-8 with 3-4-5-7 with 1-3-5-8 for 50 cents. That's a $48 ticket. For $5, I'm going to play 6 with 8 with 4-5-7 with 5-8. That's a $30 ticket for $5. And then Magic is going to play a 50-cent ticket, 6-7 with 1-2-5 with 2-3-5-7 with 1-3-4-8. That is a $48 ticket for 50 cents as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Really appreciate it. Make sure you check out racing_dudes. Follow them on Twitter. I am at Samobomb18. My co-host just got back into the stream. He is at Curtis Kellaward. I gave out tickets already, buddy. I was actually wrapping the show up here. I was just doing my professional thing and just making this happen. So, just running through everything. You got anything else to add here?
My internet completely shit out. You know what happened? I was scrolling back up and I accidentally scrolled too far and it saw the Native Divers Stakes field and it literally just said, "That's it for today. No more internet today." That is a bad field. Jesus. The bad thing is someone like Midcourt's going to win that and they get to say, "Hey, won another greatest stakes race." Nobody should be allowed to say that.
Look at Tacitus is glad you can say that because, man, he got his win in a dirty one.
That's good. Well, thanks for giving out the tickets. The last thing I heard was you were saying, well, we lost Magic, but here's why I like Mythcall. So I'm just going to assume we were on the same boat with that one. Mike gave out our tickets. The blinkers off, guys. I'll have one last thing to add. They're coming on in about 30 minutes. They'll be live. Guys, if you ever wanted to ask Aaron and Jared something, this is the time to do it because they literally don't have anything to talk about. So they're opening the listener mailbag. So it's a fun time. Come on and join them at these same spots. We'll give you about a half-hour break. Go get a drink. Go walk the dogs. Take a break. Come back and join them right here. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. I'm sorry.
I got two things.
You told me you were wrapping up. How do you have 2 things left?
Well, now you're back, so we can talk more. First off, Monday night or Thursday night football. Give me Arizona +3, Arizona money line, and I like the over on Kirk and Fitzgerald's receiving yards. I think Seattle's defense could have some trouble tonight. Do you have any opinion on the game?
Boy, that dirty catch to end the game from the last Cardinals game. That's all. Every time I hear Cardinals, I just think about that iconic picture of DeAndre holding the ball like that, and Kyler Murray just scrambling and just going, Hail Mary.
I'm going to make that ball the AFC East, and then just put a big dolphin jumping up. And that's us just snapping the AFC East out of Buffalo's hands when it's the end of the season here.
I love it. I think I would go with you. I'd go with the Cardinals off that.
And secondly, since the overlords never watch or listen to our show, What don't you think we should add a question into their questions here on the banner side, just so we can see if they notice?
Oh, that's a genius idea. So one or two of them are actually ones that I gave them because they were a little desperate for questions. But
yeah, we could have some fun with it. So yeah, tune into Blinkers Off and see if you can guess which one we added after the show was over.
And Aaron's not on the back end anymore. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, this is going to be great. Okay, yeah, make sure you definitely tune in for that one. That'll be great. All right. Is that it? Did we hit everything?
That's all I got.
We hit everything. Okay, perfect. Well, until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Go Arizona.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.